welcome to the show. I'm Louise and here's what happened in Taiwan this week. Authorities rushed to clear a road that connects the north and east of the country after a landslide hit late Wednesday night. It's a race against time to clear the path before the busy Lunar New Year holiday.
Completely crushed. That's the only way to describe this portion of highway on Taiwan's east coast after a landslide fell here late Wednesday night. A roughly 25-meter area is covered in rocks and debris. Luckily, no one was hurt. Still, this is bad news. This stretch of highway is part of the vital artery between northern and eastern Taiwan. Even worse, this crucial thoroughfare was severed just a week before the busy Lunar New Year holiday. And people in Taiwan love to go to the East Coast for their breaks. But the problems here go beyond ruining vacations. There's also logistical concerns. Trucks carrying food and supplies can't get to where they need to go.
我来的时候前面半小时就瘫了，然后警察就叫我不要过去，我就在那边，我就是第一台啊。
只有一条路，就是从那个南回。对，南回要差不多12个小时。
Taiwan's railway authority has stepped in to help. Trains down the east coast are still operational. They have also increased the frequency of train services to assist the movement of goods and vehicles.
启动这个苏国北运的机制，也就是卡车上平车的。
The rock slide happened around the 159-kilometer mark of Taiwan's provincial Highway 9. There are a couple of alternate routes that cut in and out of Taiwan's mountains. But bigger vehicles can only circle around the west side of the island as a detour. That can double or in some cases triple travel time. A primary reason infrastructure in this part of Taiwan is so limited is because of treacherous terrain. Eastern Taiwan is full of cliffs that have steep drop-offs, so building roads here is difficult. And volatile weather combined with rough geography means traffic halting landslides are relatively common. Highway authorities are rushing to clear the debris. They're aiming to resume traffic by January 15th. But with a busy travel season coming up, the race is on to get things moving again. Damon Lin and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
A Chinese invasion of Taiwan would fail, but there would also be huge costs to all sides. That's according to war games run by a Washington, D.C. think tank. The Center for Strategic and International Studies simulated a Chinese amphibious invasion of Taiwan in 2026. It found that Taiwan survived as a self-governing democracy in most scenarios, but its economy was deeply hit, and China and the United States also suffered heavy losses when they fought over Taiwan. I spoke to one of the designers of the war games, Marten. He's a retired colonel in the U.S. Marines and now a senior advisor with the DC think tank.
You carried out 24 war games over a period of 6 months. What did you find out?
The two big takeaways were, first, that in most scenarios, the United States, Taiwan, and its allies can maintain a autonomous and democratic Taiwan. The Chinese are not able to conquer the island, but this comes at very high cost for all of the countries involved. The United States loses dozens of ships, hundreds of aircraft. The Taiwanese economy is devastated. Japan is often dragged into the war and also suffers heavy casualties. And the Chinese lose dozens of ships, hundreds of aircraft, such that they might even destabilize the regime.
How does this change what we've known up to now?
Many people have been surprised that defense of Taiwan can be successful. Much of the information that had leaked out of the Pentagon about classified war games had indicated that the United States and its allies would lose badly. What we found was that was not true. But as I note, the success comes at a very high cost.
What are your recommendations?
For Taiwan, we suggest that it keep moving towards what many people call a porcupine strategy, that is emphasizing anti-ship, anti-air capabilities, increasing the capabilities of its ground forces, because it's almost impossible to prevent the Chinese from landing. The critical element is that the Taiwanese ground forces can contain the beachhead until U.S. and other air and naval forces can beat down the Chinese fleet.
Now that you've finished your war games and you've published the report into your findings, what kind of an effect do you expect or do you hope your findings will have?
We're hoping that the report and its findings will generate discussion in the public space about what kinds of efforts the United States should make to enhance deterrence against China. Because ultimately, with a war that's so destructive, deterrence is critically important.
That was Mark Kansian speaking, a senior advisor with the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Also this week, a high-ranking former U.S. official urged Washington and Taipei to show China it would lose if it were to start a war over Taiwan. Matt Pottinger was Deputy National Security Advisor in the Trump administration. He's visiting Taipei and spoke at National Zhengzhou University on Thursday. Pottinger says the main danger facing Taiwan is if China's leader Xi Jinping becomes too optimistic about his chance of winning a war.
The common goal that we must have is to pierce that sense of optimism in Beijing that a war can be easy, that it can achieve the goals Beijing wants to achieve, and that it would be short. I think that that would be a grave misjudgment by Beijing. But it will not work to deter him unless we make very, very clear over and over again why he should think that that is a misjudgment and no longer be so optimistic.
Taiwanese chip manufacturing giant TSMC made record profits in the fourth quarter of 2022. The world's most advanced maker of semiconductors posted profits of around $9.5 billion. That's 78% more than in the same period last year. The revenue was mainly driven by TSMC's most advanced chips of 7 nanometers or smaller. The smaller the nanometer, the more advanced the semiconductor. But the company did signal a warning. They expect weaker demand to trigger a downturn in the industry this year.
For the full year of 2023, we forecast the semiconductor market, excluding memory, to decline approximately 4%, while foundry industry is forecast to decline 3%.
And from profits to losses, Taiwan's state-owned power company Taipower lost almost $9 billion last year. The figure was revealed by the company's acting chair, Vincent Cong, on Tuesday. He said that soaring energy costs worldwide are the main reason for the shortfall. Taiwan's government sets the country's electricity rates and has capped prices at a time of rising global energy costs. And Taipower projects it will lose another $9 billion in 2023. Cong is calling on the government to hike power rates in the coming months.
我们的预估也是3月份才会做审查，所以今年过年之前，我们大概都不会提这些相关的方案。
Taiwan's president has thanked Premier Su Zhengchang for his hard work amid reports that he'll resign. Local media say Su will step down this month. The premier met with President Tsai Ing-wen on Wednesday, but neither politician confirmed the reports. The ruling Democratic Progressive Party is planning to reshuffle the cabinet after it suffered a heavy defeat in November's local elections. Su has served as premier for nearly 4 years. That's the longest of anyone from his party. Taiwan has just passed its new Climate Change Response Act. But what are the key takeaways? Sally Jensen reports.
After months in the pipeline and much negotiating among lawmakers, Taiwan passed a new climate change bill.
赞成者多数32条照民进党党团修正动议条文通过。
The act intends to commit the country to carbon emissions reductions in line with international climate guidelines. It also aims to better protect Taiwan from increasingly severe climate impacts. It's an update on Taiwan's old Greenhouse Gas Emissions Reductions Act from 2015, now seen as outdated in the context of new climate research. The main differences are a carbon fee for the country's 287 biggest polluters to be implemented by 2024, clarification on the climate roles and responsibilities of different government departments, a just transition designed to protect human rights in the shift to renewables, and midterm targets towards net zero emissions by 2050.
剧烈的气候变迁已经是进行式了，所以以近零转型的国家目标，其实也是现在国际上面不可能走回头路的集体行动。面对这么巨大的风险，政府要当社会跟产业的后盾。因此，从立法院第10届开始，行政部门跟我就提出把原本的温管法大修成气候变迁法。
But some activist groups feel that some key provisions for accountability are still missing from the new law.
其实我们觉得比较可惜的一个部分是关于这个所谓的公民诉讼条款，也就是大家所熟知的这个气候诉讼的部分。那在气候，就国际上有很多的气候诉讼嘛，那我们认为说台湾的这个气候法条可以有订定所谓的公民诉讼条款的话，可以让人民透过诉讼的方式来监督。
While the new Climate Change Response Act shows Taiwan's deeper commitment to reducing its impact on the planet, concerned groups feel more work needs to be done if the country hopes to achieve these ambitious goals. Kama Xu and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
Now, the yellow-throated marten is a protected species in Taiwan, but officials at Taiwan's Jade Mountain National Park are concerned about an increase in reported sightings. Authorities say the small mammals are foraging for food scraps left by visitors to the park. But they say that martens eating human food in the long term raises their risk of infectious disease. And their closer proximity to humans also makes it easier for any diseases they are carrying to transfer to people. The park has now begun removing all its trash cans. It's also encouraging visitors to take all rubbish and leftover food with them when they leave. Taiwan is a country that's particularly proud of its international competitors. So, to keep with tradition, we now bring you a story about a breakdance champion from northern Taiwan, who's only 7 years old. Leslie Liao has the story.
You're going to want to keep count for this one. All right, you can stop, because this kid isn't coming down anytime soon. Hope you weren't holding your breath. This is Ling Li Na, otherwise known as Na Na, and he's Taiwan's latest breakdance champion. He might look like he's been grooving for decades now, but Ling is only in the 2nd grade. Last month, Na Na won the Under-12 1 vs 1 baby battle at the Battle Pro Series in France, besting competitors from Ukraine and Japan. But how did a 7-year-old get so good at breakdancing? Just ask his parents.
就爸爸带他练啊，到处去练啊。
能击败这么多国家的小朋友算很厉害，运气也是需要靠一点运气的。
When word of Nana's victory made it back home, well, everyone at his school was happy for him. But the teachers didn't seem too surprised.
努力有成果啦，因为他真的练舞练到都半夜这样子。
在体力还有舞蹈的技能上面已经是相当纯熟。
There's no doubt that Na Na is extremely talented. But when push comes to shove, he works hard too. After all, learning to spend more time on your head than on your feet is something that requires years of practice. Lian Lian and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching. Here's what happened. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, Taiwan is gearing up for the Lunar New Year, so we're leaving you with images of a Tyrannosaurus Rex dressed up as a Chinese god of wealth at a museum in Taichung. I'm Louise Watt. Take care, and we'll see you next week.